How's it going, New York Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and day 4 of training camp is a wrap. Some really good takeaways today. Wan'Dale Robinson continues to dominate. Darnay Holmes continues to dominate. Daniel Jones looked a little bit better today. Did have an interception to a Dane Belton rookie. Definitely something to talk about, just in terms of Dane Belton being in the right place at the right time, making a nice play. But Wan'Dale had a touchdown on 11v11 red zone drills. Darnay Holmes had another huge play. We'll discuss him and his progression. Really just awesome development for some of these individual players. There was a big fight today. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, Anthony, before we dive into the good stuff. How you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. It was an interesting day of camp today. A few standout players, the big brawl between Shane Lemieux and Dexter Lawrence, a couple cool storylines coming out, and it was a bit of a better practice today for Daniel Jones, comparatively speaking to yesterday's practice, which apparently Pat Leonard and other reporters just could not stop talking about how bad Daniel Jones was. Pat Leonard going as far as to say is Tyrod Taylor or Jimmy Garoppolo could end up being the day one starter for the Giants this season, which is just a load of crap.
Oh.
I can't believe that he really tweeted that out, wrote an entire article about it. It just blows my mind that that's becoming a storyline here at Giants camp. But really, at the end of the day, they had a tough practice yesterday because they were practicing third and long drills, which is what I mentioned at the end of yesterday's episode. And today, the offense did a little bit better. The defense had some standouts as well. As you mentioned, Darnay Holmes continuing to impress. Every single day, he has made some sort of a big play. He has had an interception, 3 interceptions, and now a forced fumble. So we're super impressed with Darnay Holmes, and I can't wait to see what he can do during the regular season. But yeah, it was a pretty good day of camp, some interesting storylines, and I'm excited to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's talk about Darnay right off the bat, right? We talked about how Brian Walker's been working with him diligently, and I keep watching clips of him, even not the interceptions or the forced fumble. He's been locked down in coverage, locked down. Like that one shimmy route that Jimmy was James Richie James put on him for former 49er was the only play that I saw Darnay get beat on. He has been just phenomenal in coverage on the hip of the receiver the whole time. He is making a great case to lock down that starting nickel job, and I think he's probably going to do just that. So really big shout out to Darnay for, third year in the NFL. Didn't get the right opportunities as rookie and sophomore with Patrick Graham in his system. But now he's really taking a big step forward, and it looks like he's going to win that starting gig. And I'm excited to see how he can perform during the regular season and preseason, of course. So really good stuff for Darnay Holmes. But, the receivers, obviously, the big one, Kenny Golladay had a nice catch in the end zone. And then, of course, Wan'Dale had himself another touchdown in the red zone as well. I have to say, Wan'Dale has been a red zone threat every single practice. Every single practice, he's getting open. He's finding lanes, and Daniel Jones has hit him on a couple of different occasions in 11v11 drills. So, seeing how much they're using Wan'Dale Robinson in the red zone, how much faith does that give you that the red zone offense should be a little bit more efficient and productive this upcoming year? Of course, last year, very inefficient, one of the worst in football. I think the worst in football. You wouldn't expect a guy so small with, the catch radius that Wan'Dale has to be so lethal. But then again, you look at Victor Cruz. Remember Victor Cruz, how amazing he was in the red zone? I think that, Wan'Dale could have a similar impact, just being that shifty guy that small window, he can fit into those small areas, and Daniel Jones can fire the ball in, and he's short-handed. So what are your thoughts on him in the red zone? They could even use him as an extension to the running game in terms of maybe getting him some jet sweeps or getting him outside zone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that specifically.
Yeah, I think my takeaways for Wan'Dale Robinson being successful in the red zone recently, it's more of a takeaway on Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka than it is on Wan'Dale Robinson. It's just the Giants offense in practice through these first 4 days. It's been significantly more efficient in the red zone than we've ever seen from the Giants over the past, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. The Giants have been a terrible red zone offense for years. And now it finally looks like they've got 2 coordinators here that know how to scheme up plays and get players in position to score touchdowns in the red zone. And they're not just relying on back shoulder fades or goal line fades or jump balls, right? Which is just the worst play calling ever. Sometimes when I'm watching an NFL game, I know the Bears would do this all the time, right? With what was Matt Nagy? They would just throw these goal line fades on third down. And it's like, third down, and you're just throwing a goal line, a jump ball, 50-50 ball into the end zone that can get batted up and intercepted. Why is that the best play call that an NFL coordinator can come up with? It always blows my mind. I'm like, you guys get paid millions to come up with better plays than that, and you just can't. And Jason Garrett was, of course, guilty of that. But Brian Dable was not really guilty of that too frequently during his time with the Buffalo Bills. And the main team that is like never guilty of just throwing up stupid goal line fades, that's the Kansas City Chiefs, where Mike Kafka is coming from. So these are two guys that really know how to scheme up plays in the red zone, and they're doing a great job getting Wan'Dale Robinson heavily involved, not only in the red zone, but all over the field. He's been having a great camp so far. He's been turning heads. And Alex, I don't know if you saw it, but we did have a fan recently comment on the YouTube section. They said that if Wan'Dale Robinson leads the team in receiving yards, I have to buy his jersey. But if he doesn't, you have to buy a Kadarius Toney jersey. So got to know what your thoughts
Sounds like
are
a
on
win-win.
that. Right?
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that sounds like a good deal to
little
me.
bit of a wager here, but we'll see, because I'm not I wasn't the craziest fan of the Wan'Dale Robinson pick, but so far he's looked great at camp, and I do think that he was drafted with a specific intention, right? Joe Shane, Brian Dable, they had a vision for how they wanted to use this player, and I think we're already starting to see that through 4 days of camp, and I think that he's starting to turn some heads, because this is a player that fits perfectly into the scheme of Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, and that's why they drafted him. We talked about that a lot, actually, how the Giants maybe didn't go for the best player available throughout this draft, but they got the players that really fit into their scheme, that they can maximize the talent through the scheme. So I think that's really important to know. And I'm impressed with Wan'Dale Robinson so far. And so is Daniel Jones, if you listen to his quotes on his rookie receiver. So it's going to be good, man. I'm excited to see what he can do during the preseason.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look, if he doesn't have those yards, if he doesn't lead the team in yards this upcoming year, I will gladly buy Kadarius Toney. Honestly, I might buy it anyway. So, that's a win-win for me, obviously. And if he doesn't lead the team, that means another person is leading the team, and that's all. All the best to the Giants, and hopefully the receivers can really stand out this year after most of them not even having a touchdown in 2021. But again, like there's some other big takeaways. It was a big fight today. Which was between Shane Lemieux and Dexter Lawrence. Don't ask me why you would try to fight Dexter Lawrence, but Shane Lemieux thought it was justified. So I guess it was a goal line sneaker kind of a situation toward the goal line. And Shane Lemieux did not like something that Dexter Lawrence did. And Dexter Lawrence got a 250-pound offensive lineman, probably more than that, directly to the side and got tackled. So a little bit of a skirmish there. It's you love to see the intensity, the physicality, obviously, but hopefully there's not too many fights, because I don't think they actually mean anything. They're just kind of like fun to hear about, but you'd like your players to be a little bit more, I guess, cordial between one another. But again, Shane Lemieux is like a physical guy. He's aggressive. And that was kind of the whole hog molly thing. And I don't like saying that word anymore, but that he is that kind of aggressive mentality. And Dexter Lawrence tackling him, he's built like a rhino. I don't understand how on earth you could possibly take someone like that to the ground unless you are spearing him with your helmet, or you have some sort of bear trap of sorts. So I don't know exactly how you do that, but Anthony, like, what are your thoughts on this skirmish little fight here, and how on earth you take down Dexter Lawrence?
My initial thought is the rhino description is hilarious. Like, I saw you tweet that as well. The man is built like a rhino. I just think that's absolutely hilarious. But my other main takeaway, the one that's actually important, is that Shane Lemieux is a fearless mother effer, because that dude does not care. He will fight anybody. I just like, if you're staring at Dexter Lawrence and you're looking at the stature of that man and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to beat you up, you have to be out of your freaking mind to look at that guy and think that you could stand a chance in a fight with him. Like you said, he's built like a rhino. This is like Spider-Man going up against the rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. No freaking chance am I hopping into a fight with Dexter Lawrence, dude. I don't think any human being in their right mind would consider doing that. And Shane Lemieux is out of his mind, and I love it. That's what you love to see. And that's a huge takeaway as well from practice today. Shane Lemieux was playing center today with John Feliciano out, still dealing with fatigue and, kind of dehydration or whatever that it was. Shane Lemieux stepped in at center, and Joshua Ezeudu stepped in at left guard, which is a really important thing that we should discuss. But talking about Shane Lemieux specifically, I read that he was actually giving Dexter Lawrence the work all throughout that drive. It ended in the fight between the two of them. Dexter Lawrence did something that he didn't like, and he said, you know what, I've had enough of you. And then they got into a big skirmish on the field. And I think that's pretty cool, man, to see that Shane Lemieux is actually an improved player, it appears. It appears that he is much better
He's
than he
playing
was
center
last
too.
year. Mm-hmm. I know, playing center. I just said that he was playing center and playing against Dexter Lawrence, and he was giving Dexter Lawrence the work, and then he gave Dexter Lawrence the work in a little bit of a fight too. So I think it just shows the tenacity and the fearless mentality that Shane Lemieux has, and it also shows, again, like I said, he's a better player and he's performing better against better players. So I'm really excited to see what he can do, especially when the preseason rolls around. That's going to be a great time to evaluate. I really hope that the Giants give Shane Lemieux some snaps at center during the preseason, because who knows, maybe the best configuration for the offensive line actually leaves John Feliciano out of the starting lineup. This could be a major opportunity for both Joshua Azidu and Shane Lemieux to really prove their worth and show that maybe Shane Lemieux can be a great starting center and Joshua Azidu is ready to be a great starting left guard. I don't know. We'll see, but I can't wait to see those guys play in the preseason.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be extremely fun to watch these guys go to war. And Daniel Jones obviously had a bit of an up and down practice yesterday. Was not so good. Of course, like Anthony said before, Pat Leonard had the audacity to say that we should replace him with Tyrod Taylor and or Jimmy Garoppolo. And I have something to say about that. Logically, there is no point in starting Tyrod Taylor or Jimmy G over Daniel Jones. First of all, Jimmy G is not even on the roster. You have to give up draft capital to acquire Jimmy G, and then you have to take on the money or extend him. It makes no sense to get Jimmy Garoppolo. He is not going to win here. He had an elite running game, an elite offense, and a great defense in San Francisco with a great coaching. The Giants have first-year coaches. We don't know what they're going to do. They have, by all intents and purposes, they have a shit offensive line because we don't know what their offensive line is yet until proven otherwise. All their playmakers consistently get injured. Jimmy Garoppolo would get destroyed in New York. That is how I feel. Their running game also historically has not been great due to the injuries to Saquon Barkley and the offensive line being disastrous. So I don't think Jimmy G would be good here. First of all. Second of all, Tyrod Taylor, he's on the team. If he was to play significantly better than Daniel Jones in camp, maybe you consider that a position battle. I still don't think it is. Daniel Jones is the only one that there's still left to be desired. We still don't know exactly what he can be because of all the negative variables. We know what Tyrod Taylor is. We know what Jimmy G is, but we don't necessarily know what Daniel Jones is with a good scheme and healthy playmakers and a good offensive line. So I think that factor right there justifies keeping him as the starter. Having a couple bad practices in day 3 of camp means absolutely nothing to me. In fact, as Anthony mentioned yesterday in one of his tweets that went viral, that you have to also factor in that they were practicing 3rd and long situations. So of course it's going to be built to as a negative factor against the quarterback, that you're going to be taking more risks in 3rd and long situations. You're going to be in more difficult situations. So Daniel Jones throwing some interceptions, having some bad throws there is not a surprise, but he's learning from that hopefully and moving forward. What are your thoughts on that? And just in terms of like Daniel Jones taking the necessary risks to grow instead of being super conservative in practice and then that translating to the football field where he does not feel confident making those risky throws to help extend a drive or make a big moment happen in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, like I said, context matters, right? Taking a look at Daniel Jones's practice yesterday and saying, wow, he played like Shea. He did not have a good day. Okay, no, but the cards were stacked against him. The Giants purposely put the offense at a disadvantage, gave the advantage to the defense to see how these players could perform in 3rd and long situations. You really think about it, Daniel Jones is used to 3rd and long situations after being coached by Jason Garrett and having his crappy play calling for a couple of years. Daniel Jones is used to throwing past the sticks or underneath the sticks from 15 yards out, right? Because they never threw past the sticks with Jason Garrett, unfortunately. But this is something that Daniel Jones needed to work on because the Giants offense was bad last year on 3rd down, on 3rd and long. And this is practice at the end of the day, right? It's not like we're in a game and Daniel Jones is playing poorly. It's not a preseason game where he's throwing interceptions left and right and not making plays. No, and in fact, I think that he was 15 for 22 completion on attempts. According to Art Stapleton, I think he was 15 for 22, which the way that Pat Leonard made it seem, you would think that he was like 5 for 22. He was just having the worst day possible. It doesn't really sound like that was the case. I think that's a little bit over dramatic, to be completely honest. And I think, again, taking a look at the context of the practice, the Giants offense was put at a disadvantage on purpose. So they were forced to take risks, make bad throws, make some bad plays, because that's what you have to do in an NFL game, dude. You have to take risks in order to be successful. And sometimes you're going to be put in a position where you are forced to take a risk, and it's not always going to go your way. And that's the point of practicing in the early days of training camp. And that's what this is. It's just freaking practice. So there is no major cause for concern after 3 days of practice that the Giants just need to go find themselves a new quarterback before the season starts. That's just ridiculous, dude. That is just so over dramatic, to be completely honest. And listen, if Jimmy Garoppolo were to get traded to the Giants, first of all, tell me how they're fitting that contract underneath the salary cap. I have no idea. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a cap wizard, but I'm telling you that doesn't work out. Okay. It just doesn't. And then Tyrod Taylor, maybe he can compete for the starting job. Okay. Let's see. But really, is that the best thing for the Giants? Getting Tyrod Taylor to become the starting quarterback? What does that tell us about our future? It doesn't tell us anything. Daniel Jones could potentially have a future. We know what Tyrod Taylor is. He's been the same player for the last 7 years. He's a decent, average to below starter. Daniel Jones actually has potential to maybe grow into more than that. So that's what we need to see is Daniel Jones, on the field and not Jimmy Garoppolo, not Tyrod Taylor. None of that makes any sense to me. So again, it was a pretty tough day of practice for him yesterday, but he was better today. And I think that, any of this talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, Tyrod Taylor taking the starting job, it's over dramatic.
Yeah, it's completely overblown. It's overdramatic. And even today, Brian Dable said, I don't think we can make any assumptions about players after 3 days of camp. And he said that to Pat Leonard, which was hilarious. So, obviously the head coach agrees, and most people with a half a brain also agree. But some rather kind of minor takeaways, injury related stuff. John Feliciano once again was out today, recovering from the heat hydration issue as he kind of had some medical attention, 2 days ago, just kind of a little bit of a heat situation. So making sure he's all healthy and ready to go. So that's why Jamil Douglas and Shane Lemieux have been getting reps at center. In addition to that, there's no timetable for Azeez Ojulari's return just yet. He has not practiced, probably doing some individual stuff, but it was a non-football injury, has a little bit of a hamstring. So that's something as well. Darian Beavers, our rookie linebacker out of Cincinnati, was on the bikes on Friday. Did not do much as well. He took a lot of reps, I think, with Blake Martinez, recovering from the ACL tear. So they're being a little bit more cautious with him as well. And then Kadarius Toney also did not participate in team drills today. A maintenance day for him, making sure that he's ready to go. So, a couple of takeaways here. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know your thoughts below on the, Daniel Jones just drama. As always, it's nonsensical. We do not agree, obviously. But we'd love to hear perspectives. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.
TVSO.